welcome back, ladies and gents. We are now moments away from another game coming up, and certainly one I'm looking forward to. Haven't seen these guys in a little while now, but let's kind of have a little kind of recap to who they used to be as well. TCM coming into this new title, but an old dog of a team. Who were they previously known as? Who should be people looking out for especially? And their opponents, obviously, a new team to this, the Leprechauns.
So TCM are now Odomortis. We've actually got an interview with them, so you'll be able to read that on eu.wgleague.net very shortly. But yeah, a very good team. The new faces for me to look out for, obviously, you've got the two new members, Still Mojo from Cancer Crew, Eurofish from Spell. Those are the two big ones, I would say. Deleter at the top of your screens there on the left, one of the new players coming in as well very recently. Pretty strong, but generally it's pretty similar to what we saw from previous seasons, just with those three big changes as well, and also YZ and E as well coming in as one of the kind of on the bench guys. So.
Okay.
Generally, I think a stronger TCM, stronger Odomortis than we've ever seen before. I think they're going to providing us some very good games, I would say, coming up to that Kazna Crew level. And honestly, I'm very, very looking forward to what they can do in this season. I think a lot of pressure on their shoulders, but with Magnus at the helm, I think they can certainly perform. Aggressiveness, not that high, but it's okay. I would say where their strength lies is fight coordination. They seem to have a very good synergy, and honestly. Their decision-making is spot on most of the time. They're extremely harmonious, I guess is the word you could use. Creativity is okay, but I guess it's really what they lack, you know, aggressiveness and creativity. They're not always the ones to come up with the new stuff. They like to stick to the old stuff, so that's always important to keep in mind. But overall, a very good team.
Yeah, and we have to see the new lineup, obviously, the Drooling Leprechauns. A little bit of an unknown element to us. Haven't really seen too much of them. A couple of players that we know, though. Muppety, obviously, in the lineup. Previously in Spale, if I'm not mistaken. Looking to see what they can bring here. But, you know, is there any players we should be looking to, or what sort of game style we can expect from them?
Muppety, I think you mentioned him. He was one of the key players in Spale. And he also moved across to TCM. Well, it was then known as Odomortis, but TCM now. So he's been around a little bit. Found his home though in Drooling Leprechauns, and I think that's going to be a strong team for him to stay in. The Kempi has been around for a while as well. He's a very known player in the community. Very well known Finnish player. I think Drooling Leprechauns. They have the hardest time at the beginning of the season because they only just qualified in the Open Qualifier tournament we ran on last Saturday, in fact. So they're completely new. They just qualified, they're in, and they have to just get on with it.
Thrown in the deep end, pretty much.
To say the very least. Really, really thrown in the deep end. I mean, it's like the middle Atlantic ridge for them being thrown into that. It's a very deep pool, and they really need to try and traverse it as best as they can. But I think they will. I think the Finnish players are very cool-headed, very talented. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them, putting up some good fights against the likes of TCM.
Okay, well let's talk about your prediction then. TCM, big lineup, big players. Will that be pretty much reflected in the scoreline? Do you feel at the end of this?
They've been doing well in the likes of Go4. Not as well as I would expect them to do with Still Mojo and Eurofish in the lineup, but good enough.
Respectable.
With some pressure on.
Yep.
They've been doing as well as Kazna Crew, who just really did some fantastic games against Freefall. So I think we can expect some strong stuff. And the lineups are set up for him, for TCM. They're going to be running on Ensk, which will be our first map. 3 IS3s, 2 5100s, 2 Tier 1s. So the standard lineup. And I believe the only difference from Drooling Leprechauns will be the extra 5100s coming out for them. So 3 5100s, 2 IS3s, 2 Tier 1s. I think for TCM, they're not known to be. They've innovated a little bit on Ensk. They're the first team from the north to kind of stay up in that top 20-25% of the map.
Yep.
I don't think they're going to be doing that. I think they're going to be a little bit more aggressive than they've been from previous seasons. Speaking to Magus over the grand finals, he really says that they want to be the team that's aggressive, but also makes the right decisions.
Well, certainly a proving point for them now. The tanks are selected as we said. We can give the admin a nudge as well. But yes, as I said, I think I'm looking at this one as TCM. How good are they rather than will they win this? I think they will win it. But, the Leprechauns could cause an upset. The Finnish teams have always been able to do this. It's nice seeing a couple more of the Scandinavians joining us here. And, well, my bets are on them. Where are yours?
I've got to go with the TCM. I just have to. They're the players I used to play with most. It was actually at one point my team as well. Back when Abuse Me was actually the team captain. Anyone remembers Abuse Me, shout out to him. A really old German player, and you know, his legacy lives on within the league here with TCM.
Well, guys, let's get ready. You know everything about the two. Let's get ready for the first map. It's going to be Ensk. So, welcome to the first map. As you now know, it will be Ensk. And in the south in red, it's going to be the Leprechauns. In the north in blue. Sporting rather relating colours, it will be TCM. And our bets for now will be on TCM. But I'm looking forward to seeing what they can bring to this battle, the Leprechauns. And can they shake the big dogs here? So, take us through what we expect from the very start and what they've given us a little glimpse of.
Well, from the south, the meta's kind of changed over towards that right side push. We see a lot of teams, Wuxi yesterday, heading over towards the green side. I think that's probably what we'll see going through the season, at least for the first few match days. Whereas TCM doing the standard thing as well, maybe not an aggressive push into the city, but more, again, making sure that they keep all the corners covered, making sure they have all the line of sights, and keeping everything pretty steady. They're not going to go anything too aggressive. Maybe try and get some spots out. Indeed, Muppety gets spotted, but Thoris in exchange for that. So TCM, they have a little bit more information than Drooling Leprechauns have, because they know that probably Drooling Leprechauns over towards the right, towards the green side, whereas only Thoris, who's sitting right in the middle of the map, they can't really guess, are they left or are they right?
So with 9 minutes in the battle, obviously, a long time to do some work here. As you said, the Leprechauns going up towards the northeast side of this map, taking their time, playing smart. They've still got Muppety down there doing the job from the back, making sure no one's going to catch him by surprise down that 6 and 7 line. You can see there Eurofish to just take a pot shot down towards Muppety, but nothing really connecting so far for these two. So a couple of spots here and there, but not giving away the game at all, especially for the Leprechauns. Still having that 3-man hit squad heading over towards where they want and getting the spots through. Hopefully they can work out where their opponents are and do the real damage. And as you can see there, they're pretty damn close to their opponents here. And most of the spots down towards Muppety mostly, and it's Eurofish does finally land one. They're taking away 281 HP from Muppety, so already a good chunk of damage done. But will they expect the push if it comes from the 3-man hit squad?
They probably won't expect it. It's more about will they be able to deal with it when it does come. I think TCM will. They have their tanks in pretty good positions, quite well balanced. Especially Eurofish, he seems to be very confident. I think, you know, what's great to see about TCM is you've actually got two big players in there, two big players in other teams. Eurofish was the team captain for Spala, Still Mojo was a team captain for Kazakru. So you got two team captains in one team. Then you've obviously got Magus, who is also another team captain. So you've got 3. Thoris is another team captain. You've got 4. So it's a team of team captains, which can be a good thing as long as they don't all just, you know,
clash and argue
all the time. But just knowing the characters of those guys, I don't think they will. So I think for Eurofish, it's nice to see that he doesn't have to worry about the calls so much anymore. Whereas in Spala, one of the reasons why they weren't as successful as I thought they would be is because Eurofish, he was constantly having to make the calls and also play that 50-100. So a very hard, tricky juggling game to make. As I said before, one of the reasons maybe Spala didn't do as well and maybe didn't qualify for Season 4 this time around. So expect and look for big things from Eurofish.
Well, interesting move coming out from TCM here, putting focus down towards the west side of the map, but still maintaining 3 big heavy tanks all the way further back here. So Yukai and Durs pushing their way down, but not fully committing, leaving maybe DJ Deep to push forward. And maybe it's a bit of a bait play to try and draw in the Leprechauns towards this side of the map, where obviously Eurofish and Still Mojo are waiting. So if they're not careful, they could be rolling into a trap here. But I think the Leprechauns have worked out what maybe the plan was. And actually Thoris could land some good shots on the cross if he gets a little bit of a spot here. But I think they'll remain a little bit of a mystery to him at the moment. With 6 minutes on the board, a lot of options to be had. TCM testing the waters down that 1 and 2 line, not fully committing. happy to take their time, happy to weigh up their options and try and force a move out from the opposition. They have got a couple of spots now coming through, which is the important factor here. I think one maybe towards one of the bigger tanks moving in, and it's a slow push, it seems, from the Leprechauns up that east side.
Yeah, they are trying to test the waters a little bit. You know, TCM, that push up towards the south of the city was more of like a clear out push. They basically just wanted to have the city. They had a good idea that Drooling Leprechauns over to the right side because of the kind of spots they got. So they just say, okay, let's get the map control. Let's get all from A6 down to K6. Let's get all that side. Let's control it. Then we can move out. We can try something new. Then they've rotated the tanks back up around up to the northern 30% of the map, and we can try from a different angle there. But for TCM, I think the best thing they can do is, once they've reacted to this spots out from Drooling Leprechauns, rotate back around, maybe even look for that cap. We saw Virtus Pro try it unsuccessfully against Na'Vi, but I think it can work. It just needs a little bit of execution to go in your favor, a little bit of luck to go in your favor. And you know, TCM has still got one tier 1 left. You know, D-Devil's gone down, but one is enough as long as you have it in the right place behind the 5100.
Well, Eurofish did even up the score there, taking down Jack. So, bit of an even playing field now, both losing one tier 1. A little bit of damage towards the Leprechauns, but nothing too awful. Eurofish does just soak up some of the damage in towards those tracks, not losing any HP, but still, we are seeing both tier 1s now taken away from TCM. They're going to be a little bit careful here because they're limited now towards their options of what they can do towards the later game, and it may stop them making a bit of a play here, especially at the 4-minute marker. You don't have that backup plan they may have had before. It might be time to just maybe turtle down a little bit and watch the push that may come out from the Leprechauns, who've got a very kind of good start here. They could do some damage.
Yeah, they've removed both those tier 1s, as you said. That might be an option for the push into the cap, but TCM's 5 tier 8s are sitting around their cap, so I think it'll be a very hard push indeed to make. So the only thing you can really do with that extra tier 1 advantage is to try and push it in, get some information, maybe do some damage to Dr. Zerknichter and Still Mojo and Eurofish in the IS3 and the 250-100s. But TCM now lost both their tier 1s. I don't think they're really going to make a move. Still Mojo, though, he's starting to rotate a little bit. TCM maybe starting to turtle down a bit as we head towards that 3-minute mark. But it's always hard to make the push once you've lost your tier 1s. So it's kind of polite for Drooling Leprechauns to make that first move, to make the first real play here with the 3 minutes and 20 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah. And it's not a map we normally see that many draws on. Normally there is some decision and decisive nature towards it, but that's actually TCM who are making more of a move here, sending 3 tanks down the 6 line. I'll be very surprised if they commit anything to this. A little bit dangerous. Saurus is at the front there. He's got Still Mojo and Yukai behind him. Maybe they could pull something off, but I think there's a good read coming out from the Leprechauns. They're also falling back towards their cap circle, and this could come down to a brawl, but I'm not sure if it's a good plan for either team. They're kind of leaving it up in the air towards the RNG gods, really, if they do go for this at such a small margin. I wouldn't think either team really fancy their chances here, but do you think TCM would go for a move?
Yeah, they look like they want to. They're just waiting for Dr. Zerknichter to get in the right position. There's Dr. Zerknichter. I can't pronounce German names.
I'm calling him Durs.
Yeah, that's a good plan there. But, you know, they're waiting for him to get in position there in the 5100. And then, you know, Still Mojo, Yukai, Thoris can try and execute something maybe. They are starting to nudge their way towards the cap. Thoris does get spotted out first by Muppety. Muppety maybe actually caught out in the open.
Well, let's see if anyone's going to punish him for that. The first couple of shots are coming through. First one was from Still Mojo. Thoris does take one back, but no damage really done just yet. Need to be careful though, because they have left a lot of this map open. And then again, Eurofish is still waiting right at the back here as the kind of man to hold the rotate behind them if someone does try and push down. Needs to be careful though, he could be singled out himself, so backing away, being a little bit smarter about this. You can see the spots are coming through. Eurofish actually caught a glimpse of 2 then. So, big bit of information coming out there. Eurofish does manage to scamper away, only receiving 294 damage, but has that spur to push coming out here? No. Actually, the rest of TCM are falling back. They don't want to risk giving away Eurofish's game and leaving him open to the well, the complete reign of the Leprechauns right now, and let's see what they're doing, because round the backside, the Leprechauns are making their move, but with 1 minute and 16 left, surely this shouldn't come down to a brawl here. This is a little bit too risky for both teams.
Yeah, I don't think they can actually execute in time. I don't think they can do the damage in time, but they can have a go.
Let's find out if it's going to count. Thoris and Still Mojo just avoiding the shells. A big chunk of damage coming back towards Muppety. He's down at 839, so must be careful here. A lot of turrets will be staring him down very, very shortly. But as we said, limited time here. Don't think they'll be making a move, and I think they'll be playing this one smart between them. No team wanting to give away the game. That's why the Tier 1 left standing for the Leprechauns will be further away from the action than you can imagine. Eurofish lays down some fire, but we are seeing a push around the backside coming out from Ensk and Kempi. But I don't think this is going to come to much, but Thoris will be in trouble, though. He's going to receive a bit of a punishing here. Still Mojo and Thoris looking for a way to help each other out, but I do believe he's out on a limb, but still, not enough time to do the damage, I feel. As you said earlier, no way they can focus this one down. We are seeing a lot of damage against the Leprechauns. Good focus from TCM, but 15 seconds is not a lot of time to make this one count. You can see the shells going back and forth. Thoris is caught out of touch, gets the damage done towards the opponents. 6 seconds left, however. This is surely going to be a draw out on the first map, but a bit of a brawl to end us off with to remind these guys they can indeed do the damage. But there we have it. 0-0 will be the first map. No one walking away with an advantage, playing out to the very end. And do you think that's just because no one could really get the early advantage in this one?
I think because TCM lost those 2 Tier 1s, I just don't think they could actually execute the plan.
Yeah.
I think if they didn't lose both of them, they've lost maybe one of them, they would have gone for the cap with the 5100 in front. But you know, it's a hard decision to make when it's the difference between being one up.
Yeah.
Exactly, and that last brawl was more of just who can actually win in that situation kind of thing. In terms of just the damage going out, I think TCM had the advantage taking down that one IS3, but neither team would have kind of come away with an actual victory there.
So we need to start looking towards that next map, though. It will be Prokhorovka here. So definitely looking forward to this one. Bit more open, a little bit more options here for these guys. And to be fair to Ensk, it played out fairly usually. I don't think we saw anything groundbreaking on here from either side. TCM certainly willing to try to make a little bit of a push down and do some early work, but you know, what sort of tank picks do you think we'll see coming out in Prokhorovka? We've already seen it once today. Will it be something similar to that?
I think it's going to be pretty similar. I'm not sure if we're going to see a T32 like we saw Kazna Crew pick. Probably more around the T69s and the MX-1390s. You know, as in Season 1, I think we saw variation in tank picks because the T50-2 was still in the game. The artillery was still an effective piece of equipment. Whereas now, artillery isn't really that effective and the T50 doesn't even exist anymore. And also the fact that the VK2801 got put up from a Tier 5 to a Tier 6, and the Chaffee is just not really a viable tank in 742. So always a hard thing for them to think about. I would say we're going to see the normal lineups, the Pershing, the T69s, the MX-1390s, maybe a T32 in there, maybe a 416, but probably unlikely. Just the standard stuff from both teams, pretty much expected.
Yeah, so while the teams wait, we can kind of have a little discussion towards what we expect from TCM overall in this, because they've been a team who've certainly been close to the top, but I've never really seen their full potential at times. I'm not sure whatever held them back, but it just wasn't to my taste. They never felt as though they were leading the games back in the day, and you know, teams like Dignitas, previously known as, and obviously Virtus Pro, just always kind of put them to shame. But I'm hoping maybe a little bit of a refreshment to the lineup. They can come out and prove us a little bit wrong here and really show up and do some damage. Obviously, Still Mojo having his time at the top there. He's done some great things during the offline seasons as well. Definitely looking forward to maybe what this could mean for TCM, because I didn't feel we ever really saw their full potential at times. I felt as though they would sit around the mid-table, occasionally toy with coming up towards the top of it, but I never felt they were consistent enough in it.
Yeah, and they've always been that team which has done well at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
While all the teams are getting up, they seem to have managed to, you know, find a way of being in the zone before any other team. I mean, if you remember to Season 3 at the beginning, they beat Team Dignitas.
Yeah.
Very impressive stuff. They beat Mouse Sports, which is now Danal Esports. So, and they've always had a good start, but it's really about that consistency in general competition. You know, you can lose a couple of games, but as long as you're doing well, more often than not, then you're going to be in the top 6. You're going to be in the top teams at the end of the season, which is what TCM Gaming really want to do.
Well, we'll see if they can do it. Obviously, good lineup there with them. I think they're just still slowing themselves down. Hopefully we can get towards the tank picks very soon. But Prokhorovka, I am not sure if I really recall much of Odin Mortis on this. I don't think they've ever overly impressed me on it. I'm not sure if I'm just ignoring, you know, it's something brilliant they did, but never a big fan, never felt they were bad on it. Just thought they were, you know, down the middle of the road kind of thing. What can we really expect from these guys? Do you think this one where they could make their first move? They seemed willing to make the initiative on the first map, didn't really have the time in the end. Is this a map where they might be able to do it?
We haven't really seen a team actually be impressive on Prokhorovka.
For a long time.
For a very long time. I don't think any team has really been great. The only one that comes to mind is Leprechauns, who did some good stuff. They've done some good stuff in Season 3 and the Grand Finals, some good pushes from the northern spawn. But generally, Prokhorovka's been really a non-map for a while, since you know, Season 2 maybe, or Season 1. So whether TCM has innovated and come up with something new, we're just going to have to wait and see whether they have time to execute that, which has been a problem for the team so far. You know, having that 10-minute window to bring out a win, it's extremely hard to do. But maybe, just maybe. Obviously, if you're a team that's good on Prokhorovka, the other teams are not so good, you can actually start seeing the results really go in your favor. Maybe, you know, if you play this map 11 times in a season, you get 11 wins in the bag, and that's certainly going to help you on your way to the top teams for the offline finals.
Well, it certainly could be a possibility. As you said, no one really breaking the meta in that one yet, or kind of re-breaking it, should we say. They've always kind of just played it the way it is. If they get an early advantage, they might make something out of it. But as you said, it's quite polarizing as well, Prokhorovka. There's not exactly that many options available to you to an extent. Once you know where the enemy is, there's always that, you know, slight deflect or the slight kind of area you need to traverse, which will walk into the other team's favor. So if you do cross over the middle and the team's already set up, you're gonna go in trouble. If you don't cover off, you know, a couple of the ends, there's gonna be a 1390 peering out and taking pot shots at you. So the map doesn't really always favor the teams actually going head to head here, and especially when we've seen it more polarized towards the village, I feel. When there used to be the kind of brawl with the T69s towards the west side of the map in the open fields, there was a little bit more action, but obviously that came down to whether teams actually engaged from it. But now they're utilizing the village more. I feel it's even less of an engagement aspect to it, and they're just playing safe, making sure they don't make mistakes, and just doing it that way. So I'm hoping they get the tank picks coming through nice and quickly here. I do believe TCM have actually selected theirs. So what are we seeing from them so far? No real surprises, I don't think.
3 T69, 3 AMX 3090, 2 T69s, double T1. So the most normal Prokhorovka lineup you'll ever see. Still waiting for Drooling Leprechauns to come into this game, but I think 5100 picked. I'm not sure if that's just from the previous game.
Yeah, I think that's going to have to go.
We never really see 5100s on this map. I mean, at one point we saw Tiger 2s. I think when we first started playing Prokhorovka, I think this was this must have been years ago, but we had 5 Tiger 2s from the northern spawn, and we put them all in the cap, and we put them in one line because we knew the team would be camping on the tree road. So we put them in one line, so you only see the front Tiger 2. The other 4 are sitting behind and capping. I mean, this is the cheesy stuff we came up at the beginning of competitive. This was before it was even an esport. This was just like, I don't know,
clan versus clan
competition.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. It was. It actually worked. We won that game.
But to be fair though, with it being blind picks now, you know, we could see something like that happening, because
I wouldn't be surprised.
You never know. You can
not
get
something
these all in
as
strats.
retarded, but
yeah,
it's something
to a level,
bit more clever.
to a level.
Yeah.
You can only push yourself so far. So I think they are just about getting themselves ready here. I think the picks for the Leprechaun side have come through. Any surprises, or I think this is what we expected as well.
Yeah, they've just switched up the T69, which TCM has for a Pershing, so 3 1390s, a T69, and a Pershing with a double T1. So just that switcheroo between the Pershing and the T69.
Yeah, no problems there. So guys, let's give you a good overview towards what will be Prokhorovka. We lied. We're not Prokhorovka. The team's just having to adjust a couple of things in the last couple of seconds. We will be going into the map in just a moment's time. But yes, you can blame TCM for that. They got a little bit eager. They're like, we're ready! And then they weren't ready. So we had to kind of tell them to calm down. Get into game. We are now ready to get into game, so we can get away from our ugly mugs and look at these two going head-to-head. It's TCM up against the Leprechauns. So far, 0-0. No score on the board. Second map now we're into. So hopefully we can see a little bit of a fight coming out from these guys. And obviously in the south it will be TCM, and in the north it will be the Leprechauns in red. So your prediction on this one?
I think we haven't seen Drooling Leprechauns on an open map, so for me, TCM is going to take this one.
Well, maybe they got something up their sleeve. Who knows? We'll be finding out in a second now. TCM, as I said, will be in the south, running with a very T69 and 1390 base lineup, whereas a little bit more of cohesion on the other side, a little bit more variation towards it. Let's see if that comes into effect here. And what are we seeing so far from both of these teams?
So Drooling Leprechauns heading over, as we saw previously from Kazakh, over towards that left side. Freefall even heading towards that left side, really going for that aggressive start, and kind of strange for me, who does actually go and try and spot out. He does a good job there spotting out most of TCM Gaming, which has pretty much culminated all their tanks in the middle area, which is not too bad of a tactic, but a standard one nonetheless. And you have to see if TCM can make sure that they keep the angles, they keep the spots onto Drooling Leprechauns, because if they don't, Drooling Leprechauns going to go for the hill, they're going to get shots off into the middle, and that's going to go disastrously for them. But having said that, because of the aggressive push from Drooling Leprechauns all over towards the city side, TCM can start looking towards the cap, and you've got those options that come in, put the pressure on there. Also go for the tier 1, which we can see TCM has already caught onto the fact, and maybe Thoris will be taking out Toho very quickly, and Juhu's going to try and come back to do some damage to him, but it doesn't look like Thoris is actually caught on, but finally Toho might go down.
And there we go, there's that tier 1 removed, and we will be seeing Thoris quite far up for TCM. They've put him right down towards that K line. And we'll see if that really comes into effect later on. Yuhu has come back just to try and make sure no one easily makes it across this line. But, you know, in your opinion, I'm not sure if we're going to see a move from either side. As we said before, well, as I said before, I'm not sure if you agree, but this map can be very polarizing. I'm not sure either side really have a drastic advantage. You're just cutting it down the middle almost. If you're either of these teams, would you go for it right now?
Message just detracking himself there, but yeah, I don't think I would go for it quite yet. I think for TCM they would like to get that second tier 1 out, Kempi, before they maybe try something. But generally from the north, it's always hard to push in, because you know it's kind of strange. Like, this map has changed. From the south it was always about going towards the right, and from the north it was always going towards the left. That's changed now. From the north they've gone to the right. You know, the meta's constantly changing. It's always switching around, and for TCM it's almost on their shoulders to go for the push. I like the idea of going towards the middle, putting the tanks in the cap, setting up a tank in front, not actually going for all the tank push, but instead just distracting the team enough to push through the middle, get the distraction on, and get the kills on the tanks that are trying to decap. And that looks like what they're doing with Still Mojo.
Well, he's a brave little tier 1. I don't think I'd fancy my chances if there was that many players against me, but he will be going for it, just putting a little bit of pressure on. And if he can actually avoid a couple of shots, he does have players in the right place to back him up here, and who knows, it could work out in the end. Let's find out if it does. As you can see, Thoris keeping control of that borderline, trying to keep back Yuhu from peeking up and over with that 1390 to take down his teammate. But here comes the move towards probably the more middle of the map. It's Eurofish taking a beautiful shot. That 1390 for the Leprechauns has been wiped off the face of the earth. But now there's 2 players against Thoris. That middle section not quite won out just yet, but the cap circle has stopped being taken. Still Mojo backed away smartly and said, all right, we've got the first advantage there. That's done the job.
It certainly has, and that's really a perfect situation for TCM Gaming. Taking out Message, he didn't expect to get caught out there. Don't think he expected TCM to be in the right position to get the shots on and be so deadly accurate with those T69s. But they did. They managed to hit the shots. Message got tracked and he got taken down within a fraction of a second. So a tier 1 down for TCM, but a tier 1 and a tier 8 down for Drooling Leprechaun. So good start for them. They're going to put the pressure on in the cap again, and honestly TCM looking very strong. Drooling Leprechauns are going to have to commit here. They're going to start with Muppety.
Well, Muppety toyed with the idea of it. Didn't quite go free. Euroffish and Yukai are both also keeping eyes on. Let's keep that in mind here. So whoever peeks up, if they're not doing it to the pixel perfect peak, it could really be in trouble. Thoris toying with the idea of it. Muppety again, 1 minute on the board. No rush just yet, but they need to make sure they make this shot count. And obviously be well aware of what happened at 1390 last. And right now, still Mojo very much alive. Muppety toying with the idea once again to peer up and over. Been spotted. His game plan is known, but he still needs to, stop Still Mojo from being able to do this. You can see him going back and forth. Still Mojo once again though, just taking it carefully, moving around, getting in position. But we need to look right now at what's happening elsewhere. Hopefully we can go to my screen because Euroffish and Yukai are moving in on the flank. They know they're going to be catching these guys off guard, and this could be some big shots coming through here. But actually it's not gone to plan. Snake Guy Finn held on there for a good bit of time, and now Muppety moving in. Thoris has been singled out. The bounces come through. Thoris does take Yoo-Hoo fairly low, but Muppety rolling around is not going to make this easy. Thoris is surely going to go down. This is not going to plan. One more shell, he's gone down. Now this squad moving in of tanks is going to have to deal with these guys over for the Drooling Leprechauns. They are going to go low. Snake Guy Finn is desperately low. One of his teammates just got removed from the battlefield, as now Snake has 3 players bearing down on him. One more shell will do the job, but they're bouncing. And there we go, finally lands them, but here we go. 3 players left standing for the Leprechauns, Muppety being one of them, the veteran to the side. Yoo-Hoo and Kempi up as well, but Yukai, DJ Redeep, and Durs, with Euroffish as well, have to make this count. Yukai will be moving forward, but is there any chance here for the Leprechauns to stay alive?
I just think TCM has just rolled them a little bit. That was perfect execution we were talking about. Can TCM show us something new on Prokhorovka? They did. Perfect execution, pressure in the cap, doing exactly what they could do, but Muppety, he's still going to try and fight it, and Juhu's on such low HP, he does get taken down to 1 versus 4. Can he do it?
Well, Durs comes around the side, Yukai joined in, and Euroffish just to end the day. And the tier 1 being removed means that TCM will be picking up that match, and what a brilliantly played out strategy. I think we need to talk our way through that one because that was so well done by them, clearly having a plan from the very offset there, and just take me through it step by step.
So, they got kind of a blessing with Message being taken out very early on in the AMX 1390, but having said that, that was actually earned by the team of TCM. They put Still Mojo in the cap, they put that pressure on, and for Drooling Leprechauns to actually do anything against Still Mojo, they had to commit something. So they tried to commit through the middle with distraction for Message on the left. That didn't work out. Message got taken down within a few seconds, so that was a tier 8 out. Then Still Mojo just went back in the cap, put the pressure on. TCM knew that Drooling Leprechauns would have to try and commit something. They had to try and commit Juhu. They try and commit Muppety. Then they pushed through the middle. I wasn't 100% convinced by their push through the middle. I think it's always best to commit 100%, where they were staying in the middle, try and get shots on against a low AMX 1390. It just didn't end up working at all. And it took a little longer for them to actually finally take down the AMX 1390s and Drooling Leprechauns in general. But perfectly execution for them. They understood exactly what you need to be doing. Extra dimension of pressure in the cap. You're not going to get the win with it, but you're going to get the advantage, and then you can push that advantage, which is exactly what they did, bringing the score up to a 1-0 for TCM. Next map will be Steps, I do believe. So another open map for them. Interesting stuff. I think, again, TCM may have the advantage here.
Well, they certainly showed a lot of potential in that last game, really doing the damage, having that plan, executing it to the letter. It got a little bit hairy at times, when they pushed across into the village, obviously, making the most of the fact that, the Leprechauns weren't fully aware of where they were coming from. Very well done. But, I'm looking forward to actually seeing if they can do something similar on Steps. It's another open map that gives you the opportunity to do so. As we said, open canvas. Do what you like on it, lead the pace, utilize it as best you can. I want to see them do it again here. I want to see them really bring that good initiative more than anything, and using that execution as a main factor. But as you said, it's not so easy sometimes as well. You have to be very intuitive, and obviously landing those shots perfectly can be such a hard factor as well. Yeah,
it's about landing the shots, isn't it? It's a game about damage. Yeah, you can get the cap, but I'd say about 70% of the games are won on damage. So a lot of people say, tanks is not a game about skill, but it is. You still need to do the damage to win. You still need to land the shots. And honestly, with a game where you have a reticle and the shot can go anywhere within that reticle, You have to know how to play it. You have to know how to get the shots down. You have to know how to hit it. We've seen, so many misses, and I think, for instance, Lemming Train out Denali Esports has been a victim of that. They just can't hit a barn door at all. So, and that definitely comes against them when it comes to the firefights, and something they have worked on, and it showed at the grand finals. And I think yesterday it showed a little bit more. So hopefully that goes forwards into good results for them. But looking at steps, I think for TCM, they're 1-0 up. They have the confidence, they have the momentum. Drooling Leprechauns being such a new team, I mean, new is already a light word. They qualified like 5 days ago. Yeah, 4 days ago, and that is such a short amount of time to mentally prepare yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas TCM Gaming qualified in December for this league, so completely different ballpark.
Yeah, very different game they're going to be playing. Obviously, TCM do have the slight issue of not knowing what their opponent's like. There's always that sort of threat there of an unknown element. But then again, the Leprechauns facing up against TCM right now is not easy. I think one of the players is just having a technical issue. Hopefully, we can get an update from the admins there as to what's going on, because we like to keep you guys informed. But as we know, steps will be next. And I'm just trying to run through the options of what possibly TCM could be doing coming up to this, because, it is, in theory, quite similar to Prokhorovka, open map, slightly polarizing sides, maybe not to the same extent. But is there any tactics they could do that would reflect slightly similar of what we just saw?
I've been impressed with TCM on Prokhorovka, on steps. I've been impressed with them on Prokhorovka in that previous game, but I've always thought they're a better team on steps. They've kind of go forwards, they're kind of a little bit more dynamic, and they were the first ones to really initiate that push on the flank around the side and go for the shots from the side. I'm kind of surprised that we haven't seen that from more teams. I think Freefall would have been good to learn that lesson against Kazakh. They might have actually come up with a win. And that's just using the hills, because the trench is like two-part. You basically have like a little ridge on the side of the trench, and then you have the flat part, and then you have the actual trench. So as long as you drive along that ridge and you're playing an AMX 1390, you can't get spotted unless there's a tier 1 up there, but it doesn't even matter. So you execute around the AMX 1390s, and the rest of your tanks go forwards, and you just kind of converge, take down one tank very quickly, and then you can kind of just blow your way through the rest of them. So very important to keep in mind. This is a map about flanking. This is a map about positioning.
Well, still no real updates here. I'm kind of curious as to what's going on. The team's just chilling out, taking their time. Not sure. Hopefully you can nudge the admin and maybe find out what's happening with these guys, because obviously we do need to get this one underway nice and quickly. And we can start talking about those tank picks, because we haven't seen a vast amount of variation really on this map. We saw it before that the 416 got dragged in, but it only features occasionally, and there's not been that many other options. So what should we be looking towards here?
Just the MX 1390s to the T69s. It's the same tank picks pretty much every map. Open maps, you have just the French tanks, the fast French tanks, the reasonably fast American tanks, and then on closed maps, city maps, you have your Russian heavy tanks and your French tanks. So everything with just French, basically. I'm not sure why the French are just so good at making tanks in this game, but they've done a good job. MX 1390 and MX 61 are probably the two most played tanks, I imagine, alongside the T69. But what we're waiting for is one player from TCM. I believe Thoris is not with us in this game, maybe because he was a bit angry over that last push they did there, which wasn't 100% executed correctly. But the lineup for TCM is going to be a triple MX 1390, double T69, double T1. It looks like Delita will be joining us for this game because of Thoris's drop. And just waiting for Juhu and Snakefin Guy from Drooling Leprechauns.
Well, so looking forward to seeing Delita then. A player that you spoke about at the very start, one of the new additions. Like to see how he plays. Obviously, a bit of big shoes to fill there. Thoris, a very good player, pivotal almost, and 1390 in Delita's hands. Hopefully he plays it very well. Hopefully he plays it up to par, because TCM in the lead. They can't let this one slip right now. We are still waiting, I think, on the final couple of choices for the Leprechaun side, but at present I think that's going to be picked up with a 1390. So who are you saying is going to pick this one up then?
Thoris isn't in the game. That might have an effect on them, but they've still got Eurofish and still Mojo in terms of team captain, so I think TCM will bring the scoreline to 2-0.
Well, we can only wait and find out. So guys, let's get the video rolling for steps. So we are ready now to get underway towards steps. Will be the Drooling Leprechauns up against TCM. Currently TCM with the advantage of one map in their pockets. The Leprechauns have to pull something out here after not exactly the most impressive start so far, but not really seeing them make too much of a move at present, and we'll have to wait to see what they can bring. But what are we seeing so far from these two here?
So Message is going to go on the limb. He's going towards the trench, and the rest of his team is going to go towards the left. I think a better strategy from the south. Well, they're actually not going to the left. They're kind of just camping up. Not something I would have expected because of the lineup they picked. Wusa had a heavier lineup. They did the same kind of thing yesterday, but with just the T32s and the MX5100s alongside one MX3090. TCM also trying something a little bit different. They haven't gone over towards the trench side, which is what you would expect from the north. They've kind of set up on the ridge line, maybe waiting for an early push from Drooling Leprechauns, but also pushing their tier 1s quite far forwards to try and maybe get some early spots out, some early damage out. So a little bit unusual starts, but then again, TCM are known for this tactic. They don't really like that trench side so much. They don't like the dynamic of it, so perhaps not so surprising.
Well, right now they're just staring at each other a couple of meters away, but no one deciding to really make a move, and actually not too much initiative shown by the Leprechauns. And I really don't like this Wusa kind of style of gameplay from just right sitting back into the southern part of this map. Really not a big fan. Considering it nearly got absolutely smashed to pieces last time around as well. Definitely needs a little bit of improvement here towards maybe how the execution finally comes down. But I'll be interested to see what they actually go for. Maybe there is a later game to this. It's not just a game of let's sit and see if we can bore our enemies to death. And there might be a little bit of a plan later on. But to be fair, TCM not doing much either here. Not moving in, not doing what we saw the previous Mouse Sports guys trying out, being a little bit more aggressive, getting in the face of the opponents. Doing pretty much exactly the same. So not sure why they're picking these open maps when they're not really doing much towards it. I kind of question their choices.
This is just weird. I mean, this is really strange. Like, I wouldn't expect Drooling Leprechauns to be so passive. I think
their lineup doesn't even suit it.
It doesn't suit it. It doesn't suit it at all. Maybe they have some issues. TCM Gaming doing the more standard thing, setting up, making sure they have the angles. It's like they're playing a city map, but an open map. They're playing an open map like a city map is a better way of saying it, because they're using the cover, having all the angles covered, line of sight on all their players, and then they can just try and make the decision after 2 or 3 minutes, which it looks like they're doing, really looking towards their trench side. And TCM's lineup is the same as Drooling Leprechauns, so it's more about execution for them. It's more about how they really play Eurofish spots out Message spots out Eurofish. So both of them have an idea, but they're both doing the same job. They're both probing, they're both making sure that the other team isn't pushing towards the right side, they aren't pushing towards the trench. As some blind shots do come out from TCM there, trying to land some shots into the bushes. But interestingly enough, no blind shots connecting onto the tier 1, so both teams still have them. Not that important on steps, but can make a difference. And it does come down to that push, but it does look like TCM with that 1-0 advantage are wanting to close this series out as quickly as possible. They are starting to itch their way up the trench side. They made the blind shots, they have the reload, then they're going to go forwards.
Well, we think they might. I'm not putting faith in these guys just yet. We'll see if they actually commit to this. Only still Mojo really so far going forward. He is in that tier 1, so not a massive commitment, but Yukai does, DJ Deep and Delita also not too far behind. And it looks like they might be engaging on towards Leprechauns if they kind of go over this ridge or push a little further here.
Yeah, Muppety just takes a shot there. He's down to 1-1. 1119, a little bit of a tongue twister there, but still Mojo's going to creep around as well in this MX3090, and honestly Muppety is kind of in no man's land. He's in the middle of nowhere, and he might actually get caught out from behind if still Mojo can actually peek in time.
Well, let's find out. Still Mojo obviously just in the tier 1, joined by Durs now. Going to be trying to get some of these shots off, but I don't think they're quite in the position to be landing them just yet, as the Leprechauns are attracting back. It's more that the other side are moving forward. Muppety receives another bit of damage. Durs finally gets one back, but they're exchanging back and forth. But here comes the rest of the squad, using the deflate of the hill as slight cover, as DJ Redeep, still Mojo, and Delete come around. Muppety still looking weak, soaking up the damage, though just about makes it away, but a bit of an aggressive start now coming through halfway into this map. 5 minutes gone. And, well, Durs also fairly low, so nothing lost, nothing gained just yet, but still. Is there an engagement waiting to really be committed to here, Ollie?
Matchday got so lucky there. He got tracked, he got hit, he got bounced from the back. He should be down, really. A little bit unlucky for TCM Gaming, but TCM Gaming have the advantage. They just need to wait for the reload, come around, use Eurofish if they can in the AMX 1390 and just make that decision. I don't think he should have gone down so low, but he's still at the gun in the game. Just need to keep him back. Muppety just bouncing into the shell. Unbelievable. I think Eurofish is going to take him.
I'll find out any second now. It's going to be Yukai peering up and over as well. And somehow Muppety's still alive, which is the more impressive part here. I don't know how he's staying alive with this barrage of shells coming towards him, but down to only 150 HP. Surely going to be trying to play safely now, but actually you never know. Eurofish does receive one back, so obviously a little bit of a return coming through here. And with 4 minutes left, you'd assume that TCM want to make the move off this one, but with these guys being down towards this HP as well, Durs obviously not sitting too pretty. May not be the best option unless they can kind of pull themselves back together. Who do you think is going to make the move here?
Well, Message is trying to find Eurofish because he knows he's on reload, so that could be the next move. And also Eurofish is one shot down, but Eurofish is actually being found out. I think Message is going to have a little crack.
Yeah, but Eurofish can dodge these shells like a champion. First one he avoids. He finds a little bit of cover to be behind, using that hill, using the defilade to just negate the shots Message could hit. And there we go, safety play coming out. Very well done in the end there from Eurofish. Smart play, but to me it's more where's the main engagement going to come down if it does, because we're already at the 3-minute marker. Isn't this a bit of a risk once again now?
Well, Eurofish just needs to be in the right position. Delita just take a shot there. Kempi landing the second one there, but does do no damage. And I think TCM, one advantage they have right now is that they have the full reloads, and you know, Drooling Leprechauns have made a couple of shots. They're just waiting for Eurofish to be in the right position. Yukai will go forwards with him, so that'll be a T69 and an AMX 1390. But both teams are pretty damaged up here. I'd say it's almost even in terms of damage, but obviously Muppety's down pretty low, and I think 2 minutes and 50 seconds might be a little bit too little for a team to really push, for TCM to really push and take the win.
I'll wait and find out. Actually, to be fair to them, TCM have received a lot of damage. If you ignore Muppety, just count him as a gun in the game, as you keep saying. You know, Delita's damaged, Durs is low, and Eurofish has received some as well. So it's not a completely pretty picture for the TCM side. And there goes Still Mojo, tier 1 removed. Not really making the most of the advantage they initially had and worked away at. But then again, it's not exactly easy to. You've got Durs and Delita trying to find a peak, but you know, we noticed from the start that the Leprechauns were tucked in tight. They were not going anywhere, and I think it's time to retract back for TCM, get set up maybe in a more ideal position, and try and wait out the storm.
Yeah, it doesn't look like Drooling Leprechauns really know how to play steps. They're playing the Wooster tactic, and just with a faster lineup, thinking maybe try and catch out TCM, making them think that they are playing aggressively, so TCM doesn't push at the beginning, doesn't get the map advantage at the beginning. Message just gets spotted again, so he has to retreat out of there. But yeah, once again, another team that doesn't understand how to play steps. TCM came really close to dealing that last killing blow against Muppety. If they killed him, I think this wouldn't have been a draw. I think this would have been a win for TCM. But that couple of bounces, the two or three bounce against Muppety, and the track shot against Muppety from Eurofish as well, definitely helped Drooling Leprechauns.
Well, the Leprechauns now decide to move in with 1 minute and 17 seconds left. There's no way they're going to go for the victory. Let's bear in mind, Devil is all the way back here. He will not be moving an inch. He can just stay down and play safe. There is one man who could cause some issues, but I'm not sold with this whole moving in the last couple of seconds and just doing the damage. It's garbage time, really, if you can't get all of the players gone. But then again, someone might be moving in towards Devil, so they might really clean up the whole plate here. But 50 seconds still, a lot of damage has to be done. Obviously, Yukai, Didgeridoo, all fairly healthy. Here comes the move from the Leprechauns. 43 seconds left on the board. Didgeridoo and Yukai backing away. The shots are coming through. Durs is pretty much called out. He's surely going to go down. Obviously, Yukai is trying to help him out, but at the moment, Eurofish plays safe. Durs still staying alive as well. They've taken so long to take him this low that there's no way they can get the others down in time. 27 seconds left. Didgeridoo finding Kempi. Kempi takes a bit of a battering as Yukai can easily deal with Yuhu or Krillex there. So they're both fairly low. Yukai comes in, surely going to do the damage. 15 seconds left, and in complete honesty, the Leprechauns aren't looking good in this one. They've really not hedge their bets. Eurofish is low, however, as is Devil, but DJ Red Deep's in absolutely perfectly.
Yeah, DJ Red Deep is playing pretty well, and Kempi is also pretty high on HP, but that's the time over. I wasn't particularly convinced by Does Nichter. Yeah,
saying
Does.
smaller version.
Does his gameplay then. It's really weird, actually. Like, he had an AMX 3090 on, like, 1 HP in front of him, but instead of trying to kill him, he went for the high HP one. It was
Right.
really odd to see, although it wouldn't have led to a win anyway, but it's always good to try and go for the kill unless, in case maybe you Amarak the whole team. It's always a possibility, but the score remains 1-0 to TCM Gaming. That's going to be Ensk and Steps being a draw. Steps just being a draw because, once again, Drooling Leprechauns not having a good tactic for this map.
Yep.
Perhaps not so surprising.
Yeah, really. I know it's not too surprising that a new team's struggling to kind of challenge on these, but these guys play this game day in, day out. This is not like they're brand new to the whole game. You'd think they'd be able to kind of execute to a point rather than this all-in last-minute rush to try and catch them out. I feel it's almost too cheesy for my liking, so they play that. There's nothing wrong taking a little bit of initiative, trying it out, keeping maybe a tier 1 safe somewhere just in case it goes wrong, and playing for that. But playing this passive game, it didn't work out for Wusa. It hasn't worked out for other teams throughout the previous seasons trying it out. I'm waiting for it to actually kind of sink in that you've got to try these things out. You've got to try and test the waters. C-Play, for example, I look back to them, someone that I wouldn't have expected to do so well as they did, really impressed me with the plays, and I think they can look back through the ways they played in the previous play day and be like, okay, well, this almost worked here, this was very close, this is where we need to change. Whereas if I was the Leprechauns looking back at that game, I'd be like, well, if we actually moved away from our spawn, we could have actually done some analysis on this in the best practice possible. When you play this passive game, it never works out, really.
Yeah, you don't really learn any lessons, which is...
No, which is what it's meant to be for these guys.
Everyone knows, everyone knows one of the life lessons is that you learn from your mistakes, you don't learn from your victories so much, so if they went forward, they tried to be aggressive, then they can learn something. Maybe they can keep a tier 1 back and, draw it out anyway, but still, you get that lesson, and it's the most valuable thing you can have, and there's such a new team, and a team that has really not been around for so long, that's something they need to keep in mind when they're playing these games. TCM made a couple of mistakes, got a little bit unlucky on Tomupati there, as I said, on the T69, and if that tier 8 went down, it would have been a lot easier for them to collapse on, especially from Eurofish's side. But good play from Message to drive away Eurofish in the MX 3090. I think that definitely helped them out a little bit. So yeah, Drooling Leprechauns showing that they are a team that's got some good ideas, some good potential.
Yeah, I'm hoping to see a little bit more of that on Mines now, which does obviously require a little bit more involvement in. Otherwise, we're going to be pretty much going through this at a 1-0 for a best of 5, which would be slightly a bit of a shame because it would have been TCM not really tested and Leprechauns not really shown. So, excuse me, I do hope we see a little bit more from both teams on this. Obviously, TCM, great lineup here, picking up their tanks, and what are we seeing from them so far?
So they've picked the double T69, T32, MX 3090, double T1. So I like that lineup. It's probably my favourite.
It's a good all-rounder as well.
It's probably my favourite lineup for the northern spawn for Mines. You got your damage from the T69s, the good hold down ability, probing ability from the AMX 3090, and just the ability to stay alive and have that good alpha damage from the T32, 320 damage coming out from that gun. So I like that tank a lot, and I think it's going to work out for them. Drooling Leprechauns, look like they've picked the WZ132, the tier 8 Chinese light tank there. So that tank is pretty much there to counter the MX 3090s, because once you get on the hill, MX 3090 will still be reloading. Obviously the WZ132 won't be. It can do the 250 damage and it just pummel you down and really knock a lot of HP off your tanks. It's a hard one to play, I have to say. You really do need to prove yourself. Other tanks include the T69 ×2, the T32 and one MX 3090 alongside the 2 tier 1s.
Well, Mines could be one of the deciding maps as well, let's bear in mind. This, if TCM win this, I believe they'll have enough of an advantage in a best of 5 to actually walk away with the victory with 2 points, with only 1 available to the opponent, even if on the last map. So this could be a deciding map, and that may spur TCM on to make a little bit of a move. I'm not sure though. I'm not sure if TCM are willing to do so. We'll have to find out in just a couple of seconds' time, as they are just getting themselves ready, I do believe. And your predictions on this one?
I'm gonna have to give it to TCM. I've always been pretty happy with them on Mines. Again, I have Drooling Leprechauns from the games I've seen haven't shown me to be a better team than TCM.
Well, we'll find out here in just a second as we're going into Mines. So, welcome back. It'll be TCM up against the Drunken Leprechauns, and this could be the deciding map here. Leprechauns will be starting in the south in that beautiful red colour, whereas in the north in blue it will be TCM. And if TCM win this, they win overall. So, Leprechauns got to do something, and let's hope luck is on their side. What are we seeing so far?
So it looks like Drooling Leprechauns heading up the hill with their MX 3090. A little bit of an odd start from them because, well, the WZ132 because, well, I guess it's actually predicted because the WZ132 can get on the hill and it can have the reload whilst the MX 3090 can, but good play from TCM to predict that out, get the shot onto Message. Eurofish receives one, so 1-4 on. Eurofish receives less damage, and remember that WZ132 only has 1050 HP, so unusual start because the southern spawn has the hill and the northern spawn doesn't. But then again, I don't think TCM really wanted that hill because they only picked two MX 3090s, usually pick 3 if you want to take the hill at the beginning.
Well, let's find out what they do from now on, obviously, as TCM will not be in the normal setup at least. They'll be working from the baseline, and if they do want the victory in this one, they'll have to pick it up here, so overall at least. So let's find out how they decide to get back into it.
There's a nicked, I'm surprised he didn't take the shell against Message, and he was spotted. Snake Fin guy also gets spotted out there, so you know, from the northern spawn, it's going to be hard for them to find their way into this game. I think they need to be quite reactive, but I would say a push on the hill is on the cards. Put Still Mojo first, and T69 behind, and just take out Message because he is not going to be able to do too much damage with the WZ132 against the T32. You know, with a T69 with the same penetration, you can rely on the other shells in your autoloader, but with the WZ132 you have one shell, you need to penetrate, then you have a reload, then you have another shell, so it's very hard for them to do damage. But Message is playing pretty aggressively, not scared at all of peeking and making the shots and getting spotted. He's got to be careful that doesn't actually land a shell onto him, but at least for TCM, they just need to keep in control and maybe just catch out Drooling when they can. And for Drooling, they are the more reactionary team right now. They don't have to worry too much, maybe collapse off the hill and use that WZ132 just to pester from behind.
We'll see what the late game plan is. Obviously only 7 minutes and 33 seconds left in here. It's a little bit of time to play with, and at the moment it looks like there's a bit of a move more coming out from the TCM side, backing away. They're going to be moving out. Eurofish happily backing off this one, leaving Still Mojo there, and we're seeing a little bit of that bounce towards Eurofish, just about avoiding him. And actually, where are the TCM guys going?
I have no idea. I think they are heading towards a village. A couple of tanks got spotted, so Drooling Leprechauns will know that, but also TCM, because of Sixth Sense, will know that the skill that just lighting up your tank, and when you do get spotted, you get the light bulb. So TCM on the rotate around towards the village. This might just be a distractionary move because Drooling Leprechauns may have guessed right. They aren't reacting to this, they aren't changing their game plan, so it's always interesting to see. And Muppety and Kempi are looking over towards that T32 position and they're not spotting him out, so it's a bit unusual that not spotted. That might cause them to go forwards, that might cause them to try and make a move onto TCM, who are really starting to go aggressive towards the city, towards the village. It's not something we see that often. Seaplay had a little crack there, but not with all their tanks, not with all their firepower, like TCM is doing right now.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where TCM intend to take this. They've put a good couple of players there. They are, however, moving back slightly. Eurofish has got himself towards the foot of the lighthouse hill over there, and the rest of the guys just kind of hunkering down. I'm not sure the plans between these two teams right now. 6 minutes left. Both teams losing one tier 1. No one really engaging here. Great start from the Leprechauns, making it very hard for him to come back in. Eurofish does get spotted out. He's actually in trouble. He's been caught out in a terrible position. Eurofish is going to go down, surely. There we go. He stayed out way too long there. He did get caught out in the end. Not a great idea. I'm not sure what's going on with the TCM guys. Questionable decisions.
Yeah, that was a bad play there from Eurofish. I don't think he expected to get spotted there, but he did. He probably made a shot, probably tried to do some play there, but he got taken down very quickly. Good play from the Drooling Leprechauns, making sure that they hit those shells when they were required. But Message also down to 569, so he's got to be a little bit careful when he peaks at this point in time. But yeah, Eurofish in the wrong position at the wrong time, relying a little bit too much on his camo, which he just didn't have. So again, you know, Drooling Leprechauns finding their way into this game. Devil also on low HP. Yukai takes another shot. Drooling Leprechauns right in the driving seat at this point in time.
Yeah, and TCM looked lost for an answer, which is worrying considering how many in-game leaders they actually have in one team. You'd assume that one of them might make a decisive call, because sitting this village has not really paid off, in my opinion. I feel as though they've left it fairly open, so I'm hoping maybe there's a backup plan, but right now I think they're just trying to bring around the opponents, trying to draw them out. Here's still Mojo catching a glimpse of a few, and I'm a little bit worried for TCM. I don't think they're really in the best mindset here, in the best plan at all. I think they could be caught out.
And Kirilex is heading around Kiriex to try and maybe get the cap on the way. Dur is in the right position there in his AMX 3090, so he can actually stop that cap if he does need to. And that's going to be the most annoying thing for Drooling Leprechauns to do, is take down Dur on that hill, on that plateau. It's an extremely hard position to do because you have to actually commit to it, otherwise he can sit back in the defilade and make sure he does avoid the damage as he can. But Drooling Leprechauns now drooling forwards. Snake Fin guy in the T32 in prime position, in the right position to try and do some damage. Still Mojo might try and peek around, and Snake Fin's the right tank to deal with him.
Let's see if he actually goes for it. Still Mojo did receive one then, but backs away carefully. 3 minutes and 35 seconds on the board, and to be fair to the Leprechauns, they are moving across the map quite decisively. They're clearing as they go, so they know that the entirety of TCM will be to the north of the map if they decide to kind of fold into towards them. But as you said, Dur's in a bit of a horrific position for the Leprechauns to have to deal with, so maybe not the best option to push in for, but they want to go for the victory, which is quite apparent. But as we know, 3 minutes is not a great deal of time to work with. Kurex just getting into position. He might go for that cap soonish, but you know, who's going to make the move here? I don't think it's going to be TCM, if anyone.
No, TCM can't really make the move. It has to be these guys. Finally, Snakefin guy just takes some damage from does Nichter, and he doesn't get spotted. So good play there from TCM Gaming, but not enough to really bring them back in the game. And I don't think Dur should have really missed that first shot. That was an easy shot to make. Message takes another bit of damage there from Dur, down to 3, 4, 6 in his WZ132. And TCM just trying to battle back Drooling Leprechauns. Drooling Leprechauns know they're firmly in the driving seat, but they still have to execute. They still have to win based on just their ability, as opposed to catching a tank out like they did Eurofish. Eurofish just in the wrong position and really shouldn't have gone down. So very, very bad play from TCM Gaming there. But this is the big question, can Drooling Leprechauns execute?
Well, I think they might be starting to push in. They might decide to actually make a move. We'll find out in a moment now. Still Mojo will be the first to really receive a bit of damage. Durs will be kept busy by Kirilex very soon. 2 minutes left. Still Mojo, DJ Redeep waiting for this. Yukai as well. Durs battling out. Let's spin on over towards him, see what he's going to be going through. Kirilex is getting the fire down, so it's a bit of an even brawl here. And actually, the Leprechaun's not moving in at the same time. Shell bounced, and Durs will get the shot in the end, but a little bit of lack of cohesion coming out, I feel, from the Leprechauns not moving in when they had the opportunity. Now Durs will stay alive, and I feel as though TCM could turn this if the next couple of shells go their way, but Muppety comes into the battle. T69 slides in, still Mojo tries to back away. DJ Redeep blocked from making the shots here. He's staying alive. Muppety's gone low, but can they take him down? 1105, there we go. Finally the damage comes in. There goes still Mojo, but we're going to see if DJ Redeep can hold on. He has some support, but not a great deal. They're going to struggle to make this count, TCM, but can they somehow stay alive? Maybe keep Devil safe, maybe keep Durs safe. They need to think of the picture overall, or will this be drawn up here? 1 minute left. what sort of chance they have here, Laughter, because DJ Redeem surely going to be taken down now.
Yeah, the consistent fire from that T-32 is absolutely vital for Drooling Leprechauns, but that's why TCM is trying to focus him down. He's down to 5, 6, 7. Still, Mojo had to live in that situation, and Kempi, he has to find the T69, he has to find the AMX 3090 of Durr, and Durr is on the run, and the T69, I think he'll get him.
There we go, Kempi does land the shot, and Yukai's been actually found by the tier 1. Lovely shot from Snake Guy Finn coming in from the background. This should be a victory quite simply now for the Leprechauns with 3 tanks left alive, 27 seconds. Yukai can try and dance around this building all he wants, but with 2 players against him, he's going to struggle here. He's going to have to go for the tier 1, try and avoid that shot just around the corner. He's going to go for it. He takes down the tier 1. 15 seconds now. Kempi quite far away. Snakefin guy coming in the corner. And literally, Yukai's going to try and dance this one out. He's got 8 seconds left. If he stays alive here, this would be a brilliant bit of play. But here comes the final member. 4 seconds. 3 seconds. Can Yukai do this?
Oh!
He might draw it out. Yukai with brilliant play draws it out in the end. Stays alive and denies the victory. Wow.
Oh
literally with no
days.
HP left. Brilliant play.
Well, Yukai, my friend, you just 2 against 1, carried his team through.
Unbelievable.
And I have to give the credit to Durr there, because he really distracted the team, and he got so unlucky there, because just when Kempi was in the right position, he moved off the hill. I think Durr, if he had stayed in his position, he could have provided more support, and he would have wasted more time from Drooling Leprechauns. But because he drove off the hill too late, Kempi was in the right position to take him down. So.
Yep.
Just bad decision making there, but Yukai staying alive in such a risky ram against the T1. I know it doesn't weigh anything, but Jesus Christ, man, how close can you
like
get?
0 HP on him, like quite genuinely. The bar was literally empty, probably like 2-3 HP, something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, he was on like 30 HP, something like that.
So literally anything could have taken him down then.
A T1 could have taken down, and that was a bad play from the Tier 1, because all that Tier 1 had to do was basically put himself in the most inconvenient place possible
And allow the other teammate to come around the other side.
to stop the from the T69 to actually drive around. So just block that T1 should just block the T69 of Yukai, and that would have been a win for them. But those mistakes coming into the equation for such a new team, probably so scared and so close to a win.
That's not good. But anyway, we are going to be going the full distance. We'll be going to Ruinberg, the final map tonight between these two. And currently, it's TCM with 1 point advantage. Thankfully, towards Yukai for saving that one rather than being 1-1. He's denied the fact that the Leprechauns can actually win this. They can only go for the draw at the best of situations. I think they're going to be falling apart after that last map. I don't think you can even be serious after that.
I would be very annoyed if I was Drooling Leprechauns there. No. I think they were that close, and to take Eurofish down and for TCM to actually hang on by the absolute skin of their teeth, I mean, really, really, really close. I think they would be absolutely devastated, kicking themselves for that one. Honestly, I mean, that is a heartbreaking situation for a team like that.
No one wants to be that guy. You know what I mean? It's...
Yeah, and apart from that Tier 1 play, that they really couldn't have done it any better. That just one missed drive, that couple of meters from the Tier 1, that was the only thing they needed. And that's a difference between a win and a draw. And a draw. So, yeah, we'll be moving to a Ruinberg, our 5th map. TCM leading 1-0. So 3 draws so far. Obviously, you know, previous seasons we had the Tier 8 point rule, so we didn't really get that many draws. But the thing is, now teams actually pushing, so it's kind of a strange situation. We get less, we get more draws, but we get more action. But I'm not sure which.
Strange.
It's you know, it's really what you prefer. I'm not.
And to be fair, we only play the maps
sure.
once as well. They just moved on straight away. So you know, you've got to weigh up your options of: are we stronger on this map? Yes or no? Should we actually go for the victory here rather than the draw? Okay, yes, we need to go for the victory. Push in, job done, hope and win it. But as you said, Ruinberg coming up next. The tank picks are coming through. What are we seeing now, these guys?
So this is Ruinberg. So we got an AMX 1390 for TCM Gaming, double IS3, 5100, double AMX 1390, double T1 even. So they've gone for a little bit of a faster lineup with the 2 AMX 1390s. Unusually no T69 in there. Instead going for like a strange mixture. They got 2 very fast tanks, 2 very slow tanks in the form of the IS3s, and 1 kind of in the middle with the 5100. So a lot of firepower, like a hell of a lot of firepower from the AMX 1390s, the 5100s. and coupled with the alpha damage from the IS3, they've got really a killing team. And all you have to do is draw this one out. So that's maybe what TCM wants to do. Whereas Drooling Leprechauns, they've got the double 5100, T69 ×2, AMX 1390 double T1.
Well, I actually like the Leprechauns lineup a lot there, so hopefully they can put that to some good use. But your predictions on the final map, who's going to take it? I still think that the Leprechauns probably can't get over that last moment. I think that's going to stick with you for a while. I've got to give it over to TCM. Where are you putting your money?
I think I'm going to put my money on TCM, although they could just go for the draw.
They could do, but would you really?
No, I personally, I never go for the draw, but, you know, in my mind, a draw is a loss, pretty much, for me.
Yeah, you get no satisfaction from it, really. It's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
well.
but then they also want to start the season well, so, you know, if they draw this one out, they're 1-0 up, it's important for them to get that first win.
Well, guys, we're now seconds away. Let's get ready for the final map, Ruinberg. So, welcome to the final map. It's going to be Ruinberg between TCM and the Leprechauns. So far, it's been a bit of a shoddy display at times from these two. Yukai somehow staying alive in the last map, has taken it through to this point. It'll be TCM in the blue, starting in the south, and the Leprechauns in the north in red. And, well, take us through what we're seeing so far.
So Leprechauns doing the normal thing from north, going up towards the village, taking the higher ground. They've got the right tanks for it, so they might as well do it. MX 1390 going force for the spot. But unusually TCM going, they only need a draw to take the win, but they are going to go aggressive, go into the middle. And I think Message might get caught out. Kempi's still on the rotate. I'm not sure if Drooling Leprechauns are ready for this push from TCM. I'm not sure if they're ready to deal with the positions they're in. Quite far back, they've got the firepower from the MX 1390s, which are still reloading, be done in about 3 or 4 seconds, and also they've got the IS3s in the background.
Well, let's see if that comes into effect. Couple of shells going back and forth so far. Euroffish is going low. He's down by that 4 and 5 line, and this could start really hurting.
Yeah, but look how much damage X has taken. He's pretty much negated that damage onto Euroffish. Both AMX 5100s down to about 20% HP, and now Message in trouble.
Yeah, indeed, Durs is right up there. He's just let off a good couple of shells. Yuhu as well. Muppety's taken low, and actually, credit to the TCM side for a team that only needed the draw for the victory. They are going all out here, and my god, are they proving a point. I think there's going to be a bit of a move towards Durs anytime now, and Leprechauns are crossing the street. And let's see if they can actually get anything from this. Didgeridoo will be feeling the full frontal of it, but still, Durs does catch one on the cross, catches a second. Kempi's going low, but Durs cannot escape. He's been tracked, held in place, but he's going to be bouncing these shells, thankfully for him. Maybe he can get back up and running, and here we go. Finally, the cavalry's arrived. Still Mojo is here, and still Mojo will be moving in. Juhu is low. They found Muppety. Muppety used to taking a bit of a beating by now. He's not done too well, and look at the split coming out. Thoris, Euroffish, and Devil all getting towards the flag. TCM won the victory, and they want it now. They are not messing around here. The battle rages on in the village. The shells fly, but it's going to come down to this flag cap. Can TCM force the point here? Can they force the issue? Can they make the Leprechaun sweat any more here? Yukai snaking in through the village, looking for these tanks. He's going to find one right away. Yuhu takes another big chunk of damage, as now Kempi has to move in, try and do some work back. Juhu from the side comes across. Juhu has a shot. Can he take it? Can he take him down? Yuku's gone low, actually. Yukai could fall here. Still Mojo's retreating too. This is not looking so perfect now. But look how low the Leprechauns are. Surely this cap will not be stopped. I think they've done it. I think TCM have just done it in time. TCM have picked up the game, and finally, in some damn good style.
That was a masterclass of Ruinberg, and something we haven't really seen from them. We haven't really seen for any team. You know, finally a team that's kind of found a way to use the slower tanks on Ruinberg effectively to go forwards. I mean, the only word that comes to mind for the amount of damage TCM were doing then was furious. They were just pounding Drooling Leprechauns at the beginning. Drooling Leprechauns going for this default kind of move on Ruinberg.
Yeah, standard style
and
of their lineup.
TCM Gaming have a good counter for that. I mean, Eurofish took a lot of damage, but that was straight back onto KiriX there.
Yep.
And the 5100 negating that damage, and it just continued and continued, and then TCM had two options: go for the cap, which was a safer one, or they could have just cleaned up once they had the reload on Still Mojo with the IS3 and in his 5100. They went for the cap, the safer option, and they managed to take it. So 2-0 to TCM Gaming, starting their series off nicely.
Yeah, TCM looking promising, especially in that final map, showing a little bit more of a bite to their bark, let's say, finally really stepping up and showing a bit of the good kind of counterplay coming out. I like the reads, clearly having the experience of all those the team leaders within that lineup really coming into effect there. And we saw it in full kind of force, and sadly for the Leprechauns, not a great display from them so far. Once again, a bit of a passive team, a little bit like I feel a little bit more similar to Wusa that we thought from maybe in comparison to Lucky Karaki or C-Play, who looked like they wanted to really make an impact. These two, not so much just yet. The Leprechauns, maybe a little bit of a way to go before they can get on the same level as these guys. But as you said, very newly thrown together to try and get into this. They've just come into the league. They need to warm up to it, and I think they've been kind of thrown to the wolves by facing off TCM first of all.
Yeah, you have to feel sorry for them. They qualified on Saturday, and I think that was an admirable performance to them. I think they could be a little bit more aggressive, but generally okay. I think they looked like a strong team. I think as long as they keep the trainings up against their compatriots, the Finnish compatriots, Freefall, they're going to be very good. But TCM definitely, they were always a passive team, and I think they're looking a little bit more aggressive with the Eurofish and the Still Mojo inclusion. So they look strong and well formed, and we're just going to have to see what they do against the not so new teams. Your Kazna Crews, your Virtus Pros, your School Buses, your Denali Sports. All the top 6 teams from the previous season.
Yeah, that's the big thing for me. It's like, obviously it's great for a new start for these guys, but for me it's how do they really cope with the bigger, more kind of refined teams who we know can perform at this sort of level. But we'll have to be looking towards that in the next couple of play days. Obviously, this is still Super Week. 2 more action-packed days of World of Tanks coming up, and we're not even done tonight. We've still got another game coming up for you. And if you wanted one of your favorites to be witnessed, you've got Evil Panda Squad. Everybody knows and loves them. Facing off against Isuba. I'm not sure of these guys yet. What should I expect from them?
They were in Season 1 and 2, and not all too impressive. They had a very sticky start, and they didn't really manage to get rolling in. They have a lot of strange tactics. They have a lot of AMX 3090s players. They took like 5 AMX 3090s on steps quite often. But they are an aggressive team, and they're a progressive team. So I think they've improved a lot. They've covered up a lot of the holes they had. So I think it's going to be a closer game. Obviously, Evil Panda Squad has had a lot of changes to them. So we got a lot to look forward to. I think these are 2 teams which we've seen before, but they've reinvented.
Not in this form.
Exactly. They've reinvented themselves so much. As I think they're going to be 2 different teams.
Well, 2 unknown elements certainly on the horizons now. So in about 5 minutes, I think we'll be checking in with them and seeing exactly how it goes down, because a lot of question marks about the choices they made, the lineups they picked up, and the players they'll be now rolling with. So hopefully it all comes together. But guys, obviously we still want to hear from you at home. We still want your predictions and just see how you're doing if you're enjoying the show. So guys, we will be back in about a minute's time, but you'll get who you really want. Melly will be in our place and she'll be telling you guys at home how to get involved. So guys, we'll see you in a minute, but Melly will be up first.